No matter what path you choose to walk, and whether you believe or not, you can be certain that a fairy is watching.
Hello, fairy finders and fairy seekers. Welcome to FaerieQuest and another episode of Real Fairies in Real Photos. Today we're going to go to a number of different locations, and I'm going to share at least one photo, maybe two, from each of those locations and show you some very interesting fairies and how difficult they can be to find. So if you're ready for this adventure, let's cruise. Okay, so here we are. The first photo here is at the Mouse Hole in Melbourne, Iowa. This was just a trail that started by the Mouse Hole, which is kind of like a railroad bridge. Now it is torn down, but this trail started around there and went to a little bit of a different part of town. It didn't go very far. But in this photo, we have a fairy, and I'm not really sure if this fairy hid under these leaves or if these leaves were the wings and it turned its wings into the leaves. As often they can use the energy around them to blend in or change themselves, certain parts of themselves. I'm not sure what this fairy actually did. The leaves are obviously rounded and a little bit different, but we can definitely see here that there's hair, an eye, a nose, skin color. So I've taken it and put it here, maybe being able to make it a little bit larger for you. But as you can see, no matter what, this is at 200%, this picture. So taking it down to what it comes up here, they're very small in the picture, and this is one of the larger ones. So it's not easy to show you in a photo what I'm actually taking photographs of. But let me know what you think in the comments about this one. Is it a fairy hiding under the leaves, or do you think that this fairy actually turned its wings into leaves so that we could see less of it, or it was kind of hiding when it heard me coming or saw me with the camera? Okay, so the next one is also the Mouse Hole, and this one is one that is going to probably be quite difficult for you to see. I hope not, but we're going to give it a shot. This is more of an outline than it, at least part of it is an outline. And I'm going to take it up to 200%. And what we're looking at here is this shape, okay, right here. Now this is actually a hat. Here is the face in profile, a little less than profile. And then we're seeing the body. Here's an arm. Other arm is over here. Here is the waist right here. Here is the butt, and we have a leg, and the knee is right here. The leg comes down. Here's the foot, and then the other one is right here. This little one seems to be in a very odd position, almost as though it's squatting. But we have kind of a translucent head here. So I will make it so that you have it isolated a little bit and then make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so we can see kind of the squat position. The leg is bent right at the groin area and then bent at the knee and comes down to the foot. The other side is the same way, which is why we have a very strange perspective here. But you can see the back, and you can see the face and the arm, but this little one did its best to blend in in whatever way that it could, so that perhaps I could not take a very good picture. And it is strange things like this that stand out that I maybe would pass by if they did not look so odd. And that's what led me to discover the back and the butt and the legs. So moving on here, we are still at the mouse hole. And what we're looking at on this one, going to 200%, is this little guy right here. Now, what I noticed on this one was pretty much the head and the eyes. The mouth is open. This little one is looking up at something or someone. And it could be this right here, but I can't be for sure. And this one almost looks as though he is injured somehow, like he has almost like he has a crutch here. But we can see his little face, and I'll make him a little bit bigger if it doesn't blur him too much. We can see his little face, his ear, his hair. He has a little bit of hair, but his one eye, and he's got kind of dark circles under his eye. You can kind of see his nose, and there's a mouth. His body, it doesn't look like he's wearing a shirt, but he has kind of almost like a loincloth type lower part. His legs are here, but this to me looks kind of like a crutch. Unfortunately, he's not as clear as I would like him to be, but he is a very cool little being, and looks like life has kind of handed him a rough road. So next we are going to look at a picture from a place called French Grove, and this one is in St. Anthony, Iowa. It's kind of like one of those, and maybe not every state has it, but it's kind of like a roadside rest stop area, only very, very rustic. And in this one, we're looking for, going the wrong way, another one of these little beings that was a little bit difficult to find. Here he is, and as you can see, he blends perfectly into everything. He's a little bit darker, and the only reason that I see him as something other than the leaves is first the roundness of his head, okay? And you know, it comes out this way. And if you look at the leaves, you can see the flatness. We really don't have a lot of round anything here around him. And he does have an eye. The other eye is covered up by the white tip of this leaf, and that's sunlight. And we have somewhat of body here, but it's very hard to see. And my thinking, because of this little thing right here, is that this could be a baby dragon. I've had plenty of photos of dragons in my pictures, but this might just be a little baby dragon looking at me. We can see even, you know, the roundness of his head and the roundness this way. And it's almost like one foot, like a flipper almost. But he was a very unique little being. I will blow him up for you so you are able to see maybe a little bit better with him isolated. But yeah, he's a very interesting looking, it almost looks like under here, this would be the rest of his face or his head, and I do believe I see a little nostril here, but I think a nostril is covered up by the leaf. But this one did a fantastic job with blending itself into the surrounding area. Pretty amazing, actually. So next we are, let's see, at the Ball Cemetery in Rhodes, Iowa. Actually, it's quite a distance out of Rhodes, Iowa, but it's still considered Rhodes. And in this one we have two beings that I'd like to show you, and they're not very far apart. So the first one here, and this is at 100%, we'll take it up to 200% and scroll it on over. Now this one is quite clear, we can see this little being here. Here's the hat. Here's the bangs. Here's an eye, the nose, the mouth, whiskers that hang down. Here's an arm, and I believe this is the body and maybe the feet, but I don't know for sure. He could actually be behind these leaves, but the face is pretty unmistakable here. And just to show you isolated, you can't really mistake the nose for sure, and the mouth, the eye. They can actually make themselves appear very cartoonish. He's pretty real still. If you back it up again a little bit, he doesn't look as cartoonish as he does when I enlarge him. But I don't know if he's an elf or a gnome, or maybe neither. But here he is again, and I really don't think this is the body. I think he's actually behind those leaves, and what we can see of him is his head and hat. Right above him is this guy here. Now, this is what caught my eye, was this lighter colored, whatever this is. If it's a leaf, it's a very interesting looking leaf. But we have this individual, this little fairy being in black. And it almost looks like he's wearing a helmet. And he's looking down. He's got something in his hands that he's paying attention to. But he's leaning against this thing. And this kind of reminded me of a mailbox when I see it. You know, when you back up the picture a little bit, and right now we're at 200%. When you back up the picture a little bit, it almost looks like it could be a mailbox. But he's clear as can be, and boy, is he shiny. The clothing that he's wearing is very, very shiny. So I've isolated him for you. And I mean, it is obvious. We can see his eye right here, one of them, and his nose. And he is looking down, but his hands are not very clear, so we really can't see what it is that he's looking at. But look at that helmet. Isn't that amazing? And the dark colors of his clothes. We just can't see a whole lot of detail here, but you definitely can see that he is leaning against whatever this thing is out here in the woods, and he was just above the other fairy that I showed you. So here is the head of the first one I showed you with the long whiskers, and here's this one. So the next one is, let's see, again, Ball Cemetery. This one was a big surprise, but also extremely difficult to see. So let's make it larger. And I have kind of memorized where they are in the photos for this video, so I didn't have to take so long to find them. All right, we're at 200% right now. And when you look at the picture, you're probably seeing just a whole bunch of leaves. And this one was quite leafy and pretty difficult to go through. But it was this little guy right here that we are looking at. Now, you may have to look very closely, but he has interesting winged ears. We can see his eyes and his nose. He is I don't know if you want to call him a baby dragon or a baby reptile of some sort. But let's see him a little closer. He has blended himself almost invisibly. Or herself. Anyway, you see the ears, the eyes here, and it even has eyelashes. The mouth. Here's part of the body behind the leaf. The top of the head. The other interesting looking ear is over here. So if we go back to the original picture, you can probably see it now that you've seen this one. You can probably see it better. Let me pull it over to more the center here. And I'll go up one more time, though I don't usually like to go up to 300, but there it is. It's just kind of come into our dimension and kind of not. It seems to be teetering partway between ours and another, which maybe would explain how light it is, how difficult it is to see. But there it is. Okay, and then, let's see. Then we're going to Ledges State Park in Madrid, Iowa. And this one again has two that I'd like to share with you. They are both in the right-hand side of the photograph. The first one is this one here. I call this one the fortune teller. I don't know why. Maybe it's the hat. It could be that. Anyway, we can see this one right here. And it seems to be holding its hand out like this. Here's the hand. But we can see the hat right here with kind of interesting pattern on it. The eyes are a little bit dark, but we can see the round nose, possibly a mustache here. And then his back comes to here, and then a leaf covers the rest of it. But we have the arm and the hand doing this. And this down here, this could be, I mean, his feet might be right here, but it's very, very hard to tell. And I did make him bigger or isolated, maybe a little bit better for you to be able to see. But definite facial features, even though it is dark. But you can see why I kind of call it the fortune teller. So that's this one right here. And then there's one other one, and you can see it right here. This is the one that I call Hasla. And Hasla and I had a communicative relationship in that I would douse Hasla, and that's how my channel started. I created cartoons. I wasn't very good at it, but they're kind of cute. I created cartoons using Hasla, a character that I created from this picture. And before I get to that, we will look at Hasla a little bit closer. Now she is a nature spirit. We can see a hand here. You can see her head. She's got little ears sticking out here. A foot down here. Her other hand possibly there. But she's a very unique creature, nature spirit. And because of that, there was just something about her that was amazing. So I took her, and my very first video that I created was A Real Nature Spirit Speaks Message 1. And if you can get past my babbling in the beginning and get to the cartoon, it's not great, but it's entertaining. And I did 10 of them with Hasla, using this character as her. And she has some pretty interesting messages to give. I would douse with her, she would give me the story, and I would create the cartoon out of that. And I did 10 episodes, and it really didn't seem to take off, so I stopped doing cartoons altogether and moved on to other things. But these are at the very start of 4 years ago of my channel, and I still love Hasla to pieces. I really do. She's quite the character. She kind of took on a personality of her own through those cartoons. So if you enjoy things like that, take a look at those. So then last but not least, we have what I call Frisbee Park, or the high golf course, Frisbee golf course that they just put in here in Eldora. And over here we have a fairy, and she is quite difficult to see. I'll bring her to the center of the screen here. She is sitting down right here. And right here is her head. She's wearing a hat. Here's her shoulder, her arm, and then she is sitting kind of on her side with her legs bent right here. And you can easily see her wings right here. So I isolated her like I have all the rest of them. And I'll make it a bit bigger. She's difficult because she blended so well into everything else. But you can see her knee right here and her other knee. She has her legs bent. Her feet are down here. Her wings, at least one, they might be folded together, but I think the other one is obviously laying against the ground, or she's not really laying though. She is sitting up, but she's sitting kind of leaning a bit. But we can see her hair, and we can see her hat and her wings. And you know, you might look at something like this and think that's nothing. But look at this picture. We've got all this foliage, and we've got certain patterns going on here in the grass. She's different. She's a lot different than what is around her. And those are the things that stick out to me when I'm going through my photos and I see something that just doesn't look like the rest. So I can't ignore that, because it usually ends up being something, a fairy of some kind, and sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, I'm sharing with you how they can show up and how difficult they can be to see, and what maybe to look for if you are going through any of your own photos. All right, that's what I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And be sure and like this video for me so I know what kind of content to create for you. All right, that's it. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.